July 2nd, 2020. We're here for a work session. We are commencing a little bit late, 25 minutes late. We are returning from a press conference with great news. Myself and the entire board have announced the new Renaissance for Riverhead, revitalizing Riverhead. This is a project that's been 6 months in the working, and we have the support of the state. We are in the process of acquiring a few buildings downtown, and we have a promenade in mind to build. We have a grant that was given to us to build the town square. The CDA has been working endlessly in this regard, and today we made the announcement. We'll be sending out a press release and information on the revitalization Renaissance effort of Riverhead will be online in a few hours after our meeting. As always, let's start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Patrick, can you take a seat, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Great. Okay. So moving forward on discussion items, the first item we have concerns 331 East Main Street. We have Greg from the planning department.
I'll start.
Okay, and Kosevich.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, the reason this matter is on today is due to the fact that under general municipal law, that's 239 NN, November, certain applications, when they're within a 500-foot boundary of an adjacent municipality, are required to be referred to the neighboring municipality. With respect to this particular application, it came to our attention that we are within the 500 feet as the crow flies, and therefore we are asking the board to consider taking up a resolution to rehear the matter, the special permit in the site plan, in order to allow the notification under 239 double N, again Nancy, to be sent to the adjoining municipality, the town of Southampton. There was a public hearing last year. Notifications were sent pursuant to our statute, which requires that anyone within a 500-foot radius be notified. So those notifications went out. Notice to the Suffolk County Planning Commission pursuant to 239M, as in Mary, was issued. And again, the reason we're here today is just to make you aware that we're placing a resolution in the package, asking that the matter be, the town clerk be authorized to publish and post for a hearing.
So if I can clarify, you're saying that the applicant who's required to notify all adjoining property owners or municipalities that are within 500 feet did not include the town of Southampton, so we have to notify them and redo the public hearing?
No, that wasn't the applicant's responsibility. The 239 NN responsibility is the town clerk's responsibility.
Oh, so the town clerk didn't notify the town of Southampton?
Whoever in the town is supposed to send out the 239 referrals is the party who should have sent the 239 NN notice to the town of Southampton. We posted the property. We sent out the mailing to all property owners within 500 feet. The 239 referrals and notices are done by the municipality, not by the applicant.
Thank you.
I think it's our planning department, not the town clerk.
I'm hoping we weren't gonna get into a finger pointing and blame game, because that's, I don't think, gonna help us
We're
at
here
all.
to rectify this
Yeah.
and
We're here to
comply,
rectify
so
this.
let's move
So-
forward
So-
instead of going back and
so
pointing fingers.
What we're looking to do is allow for the notice to go out under that section of the general municipal law. It gives the public another opportunity to be heard, and it's obviously going to impact the applicant whose project gets delayed, but we're hoping that this is something that was an oversight. It's something that we propose to correct. We'll amend our form such that we'll include a check in our boxes on the applications that require notification under 239 and use variance, special permit, site plan, subdivisions. and we'll, you know, proceeding ahead. Hopefully, we never have to come in front of you again and ask for this.
Okay, so we're rectifying the situation and you're taking precautionary measures for it not to happen again?
That's
We're
right.
satisfied with this?
That's right.
There's no issue here?
Thank you.
Perfect.
All right.
Okay,
Okay.
so we just request that you adopt this resolution and set the public hearing as soon as possible, and we'll be prepared to come. We will send out all the notices for the public hearing to all the property owners. We will post the property. If it's going to be published, and you need assistance publishing it in a timely fashion, 10 days prior to the hearing, we will assist if there has to be some type of special publication in Newsday rather than News Review. If the timing doesn't work out, we will provide the notice published in Newsday if that needs to be done.
Great,
But Bob will let us know.
great. Greg, did you have something to add?
Yep, just so the board's aware, I believe the date that it would have to be posted in the Riverhead News Review, I believe is July 8th. If it does not get posted in the 8th, I believe it could be done in Newsday on July 9th. That would satisfy the 10-day requirement as required by 239NN.
Okay, you're gonna follow up, make sure that
Absolutely.
you
Yep.
comply within the time restraint?
Correct.
Great, thank you.
And Newsday is listed as one of our, papers that we can advertise in?
Yes, it is listed as one of the official registers of the paper.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah,
All right, then there is a
one
resolution.
thing, I think the news review is the 9th, which would be the Thursday. Our town board meets on 7th, which is next Tuesday, and the date for the news review would be the 9th, which I guess we'd have to understand from the board whether you're okay
Yeah.
with that going ahead of time, because if we wait until the 7th, it won't be till the following week.
We're fine, I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Everybody?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. And there is a resolution in the packet today, so that's
Mm-hmm.
terminated.
Thank you.
Moving on.
Thank you.
Discussion item number 2. Beach trash baskets, monofilament, recovery cycling, Giglio and Chandel.
And Aiden, are you there, Aiden?
There's just a delay, it's loading.
There he is. Hi, Aiden.
Good morning.
Can you hear us? Aiden.
Hi.
Hello?
Hi.
There we
Okay,
go.
there you are. So, Aiden is an entrepreneur, I must say, and I'm so impressed by this young man. In discussions with the Village of West Hampton Beach, they actually have these beach baskets for recycling and for garbage pickup on the beaches. And when I reached out to Aiden, he came in, we had a meeting with Ray Coyne, the Superintendent of Recreation. They supply, and you have photos here about the baskets, the beach baskets, and what he does in your packets, town board. That's the monofilament, that's Catherine. And so, anyway, it's a structure, and then these recyclable baskets go in, and they have handles on them, and if you're just going for a stroll on the beach, you can take the recyclable baskets on the beach, and you can pick up garbage, and then bring it back, and you can dump it into the town's garbage container, and our sanitation department will pick it up. There is no cost to the town. It is just to arrange, if you're laying on a blanket and you're bringing your lunch, you can throw it in the basket, and then you can bring the basket up and dump it into the garbage container, and sanitation will pick it up. We're hoping that this will prevent the garbage from continuing to pile up on the beach. Aiden has had, with his team, has had much success with this. The superintendent of recreation was excited about it, and we have some great ideas, right, Aiden?
Yeah, we're really excited about it. We've seen a lot of people with the 2 stations that we have in West Hampton engage with it, take photos with it, and show others what they've picked up on the beach. So I think it's an exciting way to engage the community and show them that the town and a small business that's local is contributing to a positive environmental cause.
Right, and this originally came out for the Moriches Bay project, where they came up with the idea for the recycling and the cleaning up of the beaches for the Moriches Bay project, and they have sponsors, so a lot of the money that they have in excess of what it costs to run the program, which is really very inexpensive, it's $300 per station.
She eventually gave it.
But they, so then they will donate the rest of the money to the Moriches Bay project for the planting of the scallops and the clams in order to clean the waterways. So we're hoping that it expands on this. He's an innovator. Why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Aiden, your education, and what you've done with this?
Sure, thank you. Is it possible, my brother's also waiting to join the call? Would
Oh,
it be
yeah.
all right if you could join?
Alex?
Yep.
And Ashley is up there. She's filling in for Ray Coyne today, who's on vacation. Ashley Shandell.
Can I ask a question while we're waiting?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think it's a wonderful idea, and if people can't see this at home, these baskets are akin to what you would see in a supermarket, and it's a really wonderful idea. I just have one quick question. How do you determine how many of these you would need for a facility? Is there any mathematical equation, or you just put, you know, based on the size of the beach? Do you have some kind of way to figure that out?
Yeah, so right now we have 2 stations established. Each station has a total of 5 baskets. They're for Rogers Beach and Lashley. Rogers is a much bigger volume beach, but you know, I think the only thing that would vary between, you know, the size of the location would be how many baskets we choose to put out, and that's a very easy and flexible thing for us to change. And you know, if people who are working at these locations say, hey, you know what, there's no baskets left, they're always being taken, then we'll drop a couple more off and make sure that it's something that can be used by everybody who goes.
Right, and the baskets are made out of recyclable material. We've identified 8 different locations at our beaches for these baskets to go. And we're very thankful to you, Aiden and Alex, for helping us with this great project. I think it's wonderful what you're doing in trying to keep our beaches clean and protect our waterways and clean out the water.
Thank you. We're really excited about it, and we have everything lined up on our end. So if this is something that the town feels they want to move forward with, we're ready to go, and we can work with Ray and whoever else is needed to be involved to get this up and running as quickly as possible.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and you and your brother and the innovative and the idea of coming up with this, how you came up with it, and what your thoughts were on it? Because I find it amazing. They're 2 young gentlemen that are innovators, and they're looking to make their way in the world, and this is a great start.
Sure. So Alex and I both graduated from West Hampton High School. I graduated in 2014, and he graduated in 2016. He just graduated from Penn State this year with a degree in finance, and I did my undergrad and graduate at Brown in chemical engineering and then entrepreneurship. And along the way, we both founded the brand Relic, inspired by seeing changes in the local bay by our house. We grew up pretty close to Moriches Bay. And over the years, we've seen the water quality get worse and worse. And so Alex had the idea, why don't we make a brand that's trying to champion the cause of keeping our local water systems clean? And since then, we've donated more than 10,000 oysters through Moriches Bay Project back into the bay. We're actually helping Moriches Bay Project more closely this year and running a FLEPSI of our own. So we have an upweller system that we're maintaining in West Hampton Town. And now this beach pickup project is sort of another initiative that the brand is taking on to kind of continue to spread the message that we got to protect our oceans, and we want each of our shirts and the designs that I draw and we print onto the shirts to kind of be a representation of that effort to keep our oceans clean and to maintain, I think sometimes a lot of people want to contribute back to an environmental cause like this, but they don't necessarily know how. And we kind of hope that our brand becomes a vehicle for doing that and for contributing back to a place that's local to you. So that's kind of the basis of what we're working on.
I'm gonna say that I walk the beach every morning. I walk along the Sound, and I pick up stuff. And I am really shocked at how many Mylar balloons. I think that's what I see the most. I'm really surprised. I mean, we've got to do something. We had all these graduation things, but the Mylar balloons, as you can attest to, they all end up on the beach.
Alex, you want to say what you found the other day?
Yeah, so balloons have been a thing that have been driving me crazy recently.
Yeah.
We actually went on a fishing trip a few days back, and on our ride out, I counted probably in the 50s the amount of balloons that I saw. It's a ridiculous number, and for me, I don't really see the point of balloons besides just being a celebration item. They don't necessarily have an actual tangible purpose, and they're just really degrading our environment. So we actually are gonna try to move into this new initiative called Gift Flowers, Not Balloons. And we're gonna create a T-shirt and try to gain support to eventually sign a petition to make a change with balloons. But yeah, this is just something that's popped up in the last like 2 weeks that we've noticed that there's tons of balloons in the ocean, and really, at the end of the day, do we really need these balloons? We could give flowers or something more sustainable.
And I think that's a great idea. I actually even wonder if it's because we've had all these drive-bys and, I don't know, I've never seen so many balloons on the beaches. I never walk on the beach that I don't see at least 3 or 4 sets. But
Yeah,
thank
it's
you.
really sad. But I think like if we can, as we grow the brand and as we continue to work on different initiatives to help keep the ocean clean, I think educating the consumers that do buy our shirts, and showing people that you don't have to buy balloons, you can buy flowers instead, or you can do something else, and we'll kind of create a creative message around that. I think it could be a powerful way to further engage people, and that's kind of the heart of what we're trying to do. So.
Well, we'd certainly love to have you guys visit the Riverhead Environmental Committee. We have an environmental committee in town. Love to have you come to one of our meetings.
Oh, that would be great.
And for
Okay.
now, we'll get the basket set up, and if you see a balloon on the beach, pick it up, put it in the basket, and come throw it away in the garbage, right?
Perfect.
Perfect. We welcome you and thank you for this effort, and I'm sure we're gonna move forward, and Jody, thank you for working on this project.
Yep, and I'll talk to you later, and we'll get everything set up for delivery.
Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you both.
Thank
Have
you
a
so
good
much.
day.
Great job, guys.
All right,
Okay.
well, we're gonna skip around, we're
Well,
gonna
we have the
have,
monofilament recovery and recycling also.
okay, we're gonna skip around, the police chief is,
Okay.
wants to go next, because he's got something to work on.
Okay,
And, then we'll go back to number 3, okay?
thank you.
Okay.
Good morning and thank you.
Okay.
Start off, if the supervisor wants to describe what they're doing downtown, or you want me to describe it?
Yes, we are working with the bid and the chamber and the liaisons, and we're hoping to have, what's called, Dine on 25. We're, gonna close Main Street from Roanoke to, did we decide that yet? Roanoke
Probably
to,
down to Salvation Army.
to the Salvation Army, and it's gonna be open for people to get takeout. Restaurants are gonna have chairs out there, people can take food, they can go to the riverfront, eat on the, picnic tables. So it's gonna be interactive, and, we're working as of last night, Chief, I was talking to Bob and Steve, might consider a full weekend, they're working on that. In either case, we are gonna move forward with Dine on 25, and that's gonna be on Thursdays.
Correct.
From 5:30 to
9:30,
9:30.
right.
And you can take it from there.
And it's 4 nights, so it starts on July 16th, July 30th, August 13th, and then August 27th. So that's their plan right now. I don't know that that'll change in the future. Why I'm here is because, as you guys know, Alive on 25 is a big cost for the police department. So the way we're handling Dine on 25 is they're filling out the parade permit, which is the parade assembly block party permit. So we're kind of considering it a block party type of event, so I can sign off on it without doing the 255. But before I sign off on it, I want you guys to know there's a cost involved, a police cost involved.
Of approximately,
Right,
it's
so,
in the thousands.
so Alive on 25 cost us $15,000 a night, which we never got reimbursed for. Not that we were expecting reimbursement, but it was a cost out of the police department. We figured that the Dine on 25 will be much less than that, because it's not going to be, pens and alcohol on the street and stuff like that. To be served alcohol, you'll have to be sitting and eating, so it'll be that kind of atmosphere, so that shouldn't require as much staffing. But there will be a cost, so, that we're not getting reimbursed for.
Right, we were discussing also the cost of the police department for the protests that we've had in town, where I think you've said that we've expended almost $10,000 in overtime. And the next protest is planned for, a
Saturday?
holiday, 4th of July, which is going to be overtime and holiday pay, so, I mean, the police department's struggling, is what I'm trying to say, in overtime and in your costs for added police officers for events like this, so
I'm thinking Dine on 25 is probably gonna come around $5,000 a night. So I mean, that's a lot less than Alive on 25, but it's still the expenditure, so.
And how are you going to barricade the roads from Roanoke and down to the Salvation Army? Are you going to be asking for highway trucks? Are you going to,
Well, the theory on the highway truck is that no one's gonna really wanna sit next to the highway truck and have their dinner.
right?
So we're thinking more about the.
They might wanna sit in it.
Yeah, maybe sit in it, right. Free dining inside the highway truck. No, actually, we're looking at the water barricades at this point.
Okay,
And-
well,
and-
if you need them, then let me know, because somebody has volunteered to donate them, and we just have to pay for the truck to bring it.
Right, and I don't know if that Steve knows about that, cause
Yes.
Steve had a,
Yep.
contact too, so.
Yes,
Right. A while back, I looked at actually, even a better barricade than the water barricade. There was some expense to that too, so we'll, get a price on those just to maybe do on Main Street, the bigger ones.
Well, by the way, thank you for the heads up, and I hope that people turn out for the Dine on 25, because they sound like, they're really cool events, and it gives us an opportunity to try this closing off Main Street and see how that works. And I don't know if anybody mentioned it, but they're also talking about having acoustic music along there, which is very nice. It's not the same, exactly like Alive on 25,
different.
it's a different model.
Yeah. And the
But
other
it-
stores will be open too, so if they
Right,
wanna go and do
it's,
some shopping. or
and it's
something.
not to bring in vendors, it's for our restaurants
Correct.
and for our businesses
Resolutions.
in the downtown area.
Yep.
Yep.
Great.
Good.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
All right, moving on to, back to number 3, code revision.
actually, number 2 for the monofilament recovery and recycling.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Got it up too
So-
fast.
I've been getting a lot of complaints, as we all have, been
Enjoying that.
getting emails as far as fish lines and hooks being left out on the beaches. So we do have the monofilament recycling container on the riverfront in downtown on the boardwalk, but we don't have it at the other beaches. So I just wanted to see if we could get some of these monofilament containers at the beaches where a lot of people are fishing, so that they have a disposal site for the lines and the hooks. So it's a minimal expense, it's a PVC, very easy to make and put together a PVC container, and I wanna put them at the beaches next to these beach baskets for recycling.
So have we identified the locations yet?
Yeah, Ray has looked at it,
Right.
we're thinking Iron Pier, we're thinking Hulse Landing Beach, and at the end of Edwards Avenue right now.
For 3, okay.
3
great.
for right now.
Those are probably the biggest fishing areas. I think it's a good idea. I do see the hooks along in the beach grass and stuff, and I think if you have it at at a central location, maybe that'll save money, and yet people will put it there. Hopefully they'll see it.
Yes,
There'll be signage with it.
yes.
Yeah, okay, great.
Yeah, you
like
have a
it.
picture of what it would,
I know
Look
originally
like.
I thought this was the baskets. I was like, how are we gonna get this?
yeah,
Okay. That's
okay,
it.
that's it for
Moving
that.
forward, number
was
3,
quick.
code revision. We've met prior to COVID, the code revision committee, we've met, and, our code enforcement officers in the process of, enhancing our code enforcement. On the agenda was, front yard, off-street parking restrictions, and, we decided we're seeing a problem in this regard, especially now that Riverhead has a lot of residents, a lot of rentals, and, we decided to take this from the code revision, because we wanted to do it as one package, and we're gonna move this one forward. And, so we have, Eric Howard.
Hi,
Yeah,
good
good
morning.
morning.
Does everybody have a copy of the proposed code?
Actually, we have everything here. Sure.
Just, do we have it? Everybody has a copy?
I have it.
Yes.
Everybody has it in the
Yep.
board. Is that put online?
Yes.
Yes.
We get all kinds of fishing stuff.
I know.
I see it. We do have it. Yep. Very good.
Okay, so we've been working on this, in various forms for a while. This
Eric,
just sort of
you gotta
this finally just
speak.
sort of gets the ball
Eric?
rolling.
Can you speak up a little bit or speak into the mic? They can't hear you.
This finally sort of gets the ball rolling. It's pretty straightforward, no parking on your front lawn. or you'd be subject to ticket from code enforcement, or even PD could write it. And that's it.
Yeah, and this is something that I've been asking for from Code Revision since March of 2018, so I'm glad we're finally taking it forward and doing something about it. Thank you.
I submitted this last year
Yes.
too to code revision and it got shot down, so I'm kinda curious what changed people's minds to make this happen now.
Well, I think we looked at what other codes, Greg, can you just come up and talk about why we didn't move forward with it at first, but then I think this addresses our concern. We did talk about this the other day. Originally, we had.
Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, so this had come up in code revision. There was some language in there which referred to impervious coverage in front yards. I don't know off the top of my head the numbers, but that presented an issue because currently the building department does not issue permits for driveways and that sort of, those sort of improvements on public property. So you'd be put in a position where, currently for many properties, we have no records or any sort of, establishment of what their current impervious is. It would almost kind of put you in a position if you did impose front yard impervious coverage, you'd almost have to get into permitting driveways, because otherwise there would be no way for, the town to track that.
Yeah,
Well,
I'm
and
surprised you didn't
originally-
just strike that.
Originally, we were concerned that people would turn like their whole front yard into an impervious surface, that was a concern. But then we talked about it yesterday, we felt like, Bob, you were talking about, can you come up too, you were talking about why this was, you thought this would be okay. I mean, we weren't just shooting it down, we were trying to get it right.
But we're moving forward now with it.
Yes.
So what is the whole concern?
There
We're
is
gonna
none.
take a vote.
I was
There is
just
no
curious
concern.
why it was shot
Well,
down last
yeah,
year
I
and
mean,
why
I'll
it's
let Bob
back up this
explain.
year.
Good.
Yeah, I mean, I asked for it to be on 6 times.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I think the reason it originally got shot down was because, we were wrestling with the idea of the hole in front yard ending up a hard
Right.
surface. And frankly, when we started to look at it a little bit more, when the request came back to us, we did a little bit of a search of adjoining municipalities, looked around, and we learned of, legislation at Brookhaven, in this particular instance, Islip as well, with the 35% delineation, which made sense instead of having an entire front yard, hard surface, asphalt, concrete, whatever. This seemed like it was more of a reasonable request to address some of the concerns that the board had brought to the Code Revision Committee in a way to not have folks find a loophole to just pave over their entire front yard.
Right, that was our
So
big
now,
concern.
it's an opportunity to go forward, let the public be heard, see whether they think we've got it right or not, and maybe we will, maybe we won't, maybe it'll be like the breezeway, hopefully not, let's keep our fingers
Well,
crossed.
Bob, we had also looked at, in some towns, we had even talked about that they could only park in the back, but then that didn't work because of the size of the lot. So we
Well,
did
that-
look at a lot of different scenarios.
That was more of a commercial code instead of a residential code, but there was some legislation in Brookhaven that also, certain zones, they wanted all parking in the rear. They didn't wanna see a sea of parking as they're going by the roads, so they had legislation that required parking to be in the backyard.
Right.
It was something that took us a little while, we looked at it many times, and this is a draft that we think makes sense to bring forward, so we're hoping the public can be heard, we're hoping that you'll vote it to go to public hearing.
Well, thank you,
Bob.
because asking for it on a number of occasions in emails to the Code Revision Committee, I had not heard back that the impervious parking in the front yard was a problem, but I'm happy that.
I'm sorry, I did say it, I said it publicly.
Okay,
But
well,
we're
an email
all good
response
now.
out
We're
of all
moving
my
forward.
emails to you requesting it would have been nice, an email response. But I'm happy that the supervisor who got elected based on overcrowded housing and parking in front yards and all the problems that we've had with the school district and overcrowding, took the initiative and found a way to make this happen. So I want to thank you for that.
And it's not the end, we're gonna move forward, and thank you, I know it took a little bit of work,
I
Eric and
did
yourself,
explain it to you, I'm sorry
and
that I didn't
we'll
listen.
move forward.
You can respond by email.
All right.
Okay, great,
Thank you, Bob.
You're welcome.
all right.
Thank you, Greg.
Finish up quickly.
Uh-huh.
I came into this after the code was basically drafted. The only thing that I noticed about it that may present a problem is it's under chapter 301, which is our zoning code.
Mhm.
Our zoning code has 1 penalties for offenses provision, which just generally states that any violation of the chapter is gonna be subject to a fine not to exceed $1,000. What I would propose is tightening up this particular code and making a tiered penalty system,
Okay.
where the first conviction is not less than 100, not more than 250 for a first offense. Second offense, not less than 250, not more than 500 for a second offense within 2 years. And then a third and subsequent offense within the period of 2 years would be 500, but not more than 1,000. So I just wanted to throw that out there, just because.
So would that be a one-time charge, or that would be over and over, or, I mean, it doesn't seem like a huge amount, actually.
I'm sorry?
Doesn't seem like a really huge amount for people to pay. Would that be,
Well,
would they be going back daily, or would that just be a one-shot charge, or?
Well, you could, under this, they could be cited over and over again.
So then it would add up.
Yes.
I mean,
correct.
I always want it to be enough of a bite that it deters people.
Correct, and just putting this in there provides some guidance for the judges who ultimately set the fine, so that, and also for me who prosecutes it, you know, the first time someone gets one of these tickets, well, what do I ask for? Do I ask for 100? Do I say we want 500? Do we want 1,000? If it's someone who gets the ticket and they they immediately stop parking on the lawn, you know, should that be closer to the lowest amount? It's not a problem anymore. If they repeatedly do it over and over again, you know, you want the fines to build up.
Right, thank you, Eric.
Okay.
You're welcome.
All right. Moving forward, up to number 5, water conservation, landscaping, and I think you also had.
Actually, code revision, car
Let's skip
storage and
number
industrial
4.
lake, right?
Oh, okay.
But I see Frank's here, and I know he's really busy, so maybe.
Let's get him
Tim,
up, yeah,
will
let's
you
get them up. Yep.
Okay.
Frank, okay.
And then Jody, did you wanna make an announcement on the water thing?
Yeah, so we're at a critical point in our water district where I sent out a press release last Friday asking for voluntary, odd even days as far as watering. Irrigation seems to be a big problem, and it's emptying out the wells, especially in the Wading River area. So at this time, we are in a critical stage where we are having to do a mandatory odd even days, and in order to keep the wells going. So water and clean water to drink and shower with is important, and so is irrigating your lawn. It'll still stay green. We're asking that you, number 1, don't water between the hours of 8 a.m. and 9 p.m. and that you do all your watering in the evening, which will saturate the ground and it'll provide for green grass, and we're asking that you do it every other day. During the peak season and the hottest days of the summer, we're pumping 22 million gallons of water a day, and we're almost at that point now, and we're not even in the height of the season yet. So we really need to conserve on water and not stress out our water district superintendent who
we
has
wanna
been
keep him.
asking for this. So it's a must. It's something that has to be done. It's mandatory. We are looking at the capital improvement project that the town put forth last year, and we are going to be moving up a new well site to the top of the capital project plan and giving it to the town board for consideration, because it's something that needs to be done sooner than later. And so we need to move that up in the schedule as far as when our capital improvements for the water district are getting done. So on that note, and then on the next note, we have a water conservation legislation that we're putting in place. This would be for new residential homes and new commercial sites throughout the town, creating Xeriscape that we sat with the planning staff. It has been sent to the planning board. Planning board came back with recommendations. Stan Carey, we thank him very much as the member of the Long Island Water Conference. He made some excellent suggestions. We had a meeting on Tuesday. We made the changes, which you can see. Everybody on the board has a copy of the strikeouts and the additions. And we're hoping to schedule this for a public hearing to get this adopted sooner than later, because this will help us recharge the aquifer and keep our water systems working well on the island. So we're hoping that we're trailblazing, so we're starting this process, and working with the New York State DEC and hoping that other surrounding towns will join us in this effort so that we can preserve the aquifer and better recharge.
Just
And
a
and
question,
Jody, this,
Frank,
hold on a second. This effort applies across every town, every village, the state,
Hamlet.
and throughout the nation. It's a well thought out process, and I could see this going forward, and you said the right word, trailblazing, and,
Yeah. It's always been an idea as to how to conserve water, but no one's ever put forth legislation that I've seen or Anne Marie has seen. Anne Marie and I have been working on this since last October, and then got caught up in the EPCAL subdivision map with Anne Marie very busy trying to get that property closed, and it got put to the side during COVID. So I'm happy to say that we've nailed it down with the help of the planning board, the New York State DEC, with Frank's participation, and with coming up with vital solutions to protect the aquifer.
so Frank, I'm just curious, you might have said this, but what are the main days and times that people are watering? What are the really heavy watering times at this time?
We take
So I
the
can
biggest
avoid
hits
them.
from about 2 a.m. to 7 a.m. in the morning, and it's on a Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So by having the odd and even watering days, we're gonna spread that demand out. And it's not going to cause, like Councilwoman Giglio said, you can still have a lawn and a garden, but we think people are just irrigating too much because it is such a tremendous amount of water that we've been using for the month of July. It would be irresponsible for me not to communicate this to you guys, because on a normal July, we do about 270 million. The numbers are in for this June, well, no, in a normal June. The numbers are in for this year's June. We did 460 million gallons of water. That's a tremendous increase from 270 million. So we can do that type of pumping through July and August, but we have our equipment running now 24 hours a day, and we expect it to run for the next 2 months without shutting down at all. It's about 75% of our wells never shut off for 3 months straight. So the irrigation demand is increasing at a faster rate than we're able to develop our supply. So really, as a town, it's imperative, and I thank you guys for being so proactive in getting ahead of this and really mitigating this, because there is no second chances. If the demand increases and I can't supply it, we don't have enough interconnections to feed the system from our neighbor. And what I'm doing on my end is we have located some of the bigger irrigators. We have their valves identified, cleaned, and painted in the street. So if we experience a failure, we're gonna be shutting people down. But for us to take that position and not take positions within the town to sort of mitigate that problem before we get into that would be irresponsible. So I really thank you guys for addressing this, because it's really gonna help me as a water supplier.
Frank, we're seeing extra use because of the COVID situation as well, isn't that true?
I guess,
Extra
I-
washing.
Hasn't it been dry?
More
Yeah.
Seems like we had kind of a.
I can
kind of
only
drought.
speculate as to what people are doing with the water. I
Right.
only have to keep the tanks filled.
Well,
But
we
I'm
also
saying more
had, we also
washing.
had a drought,
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
but we have people home, and we had about
Yeah,
a
people
little
at
less than
home more
an inch
often.
of water in the month of June, which is not normal. You probably can speak more to this than I can, being in the agricultural
Yes.
business. But we assume it's a combination of the two, people being home and the incredibly dry June we had.
Yeah.
So, look,
And I will speak to the grass situation. Alternate days will not kill the grass, and if it's going brown, it's merely going dormant. It's not dying. So when it gets water again, it will green back up. It's not something to worry about, and I would just urge that the citizens in the town be cognizant that the water supply is very vital to our community. And the grass, being brown or green, should not be as vital.
yeah, I don't know that if you water your grass every day and now you go every other day, will it even make it brown? I don't
No,
think so.
no.
I think, frankly, because water is relatively inexpensive, people use it without even thinking about it. I think this is, like the supervisor said, a national issue where you're seeing water rates increase throughout the country because there's a limited supply of it. Things like irrigation have become so common. We produce all this water to drinking water qualities, and in our case, and this is not uncommon throughout Long Island either, 75% of the water we pump through the summer is used for irrigation. We know that because the demand drops off so much in the winter. A typical month in the winter, we're producing about 90 million gallons of water. So we assume this vast increase is due to usage during the summer. There's only so many pools to fill up,
Well, I would say
Now,
also
Frank-
the snowbirds are going down to Florida, where our
Yeah.
population is a little lower maybe. I'm saying, I think certainly the irrigation is the foremost issue.
Yeah.
But I think the COVID and the fact that we have more people out here during this
Absolutely.
time
Yeah.
is drawing
Well,
more
maybe
demand.
People
Yeah.
came out. Now, Frank, I would think it's not good for your lawn to overwater.
No, of course not.
Right?
That's even.
Yeah, I'm no
would
expert
think-
on growing
if
grass either.
You go by and
Yeah.
see people watering in the rain, obviously some people are overwatering, which,
Yeah.
I mean, uses our water and is bad for your lawn, so
Right, so-
everyone's gotta be careful about it.
So part of this legislation is encouraging rain sensors. We had talked about incentivizing, if that ever became a possibility down the road, for people to put rain sensors on and controls that would control the every other day watering, which is what we're asking for as mandatory now. I did send out a letter to the editor back in April asking people to conserve water after several discussions with Frank about his concerns, because everybody was at home and everybody was doing spring cleaning and everybody was watering the lawn and doing their gardening. And it's time now, it's mandatory. So with,
By the way, not everybody was spring cleaning. Some of us were bathing.
water customers with an address ending in an odd number shall water lawns, fill pools, wash cars, etc., only on odd numbered dates, and vice versa for even numbers. And water customers in subdivisions with common areas where there's one main, so there's not necessarily addressed to a common area, they're restricted to watering common areas to every other day. And we've changed the times now that we're making it mandatory that no watering is permitted odd or even days between the hours of 5 a.m. and 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. and 9 p.m. So this is something that we have to do in order to have clean water to drink and to shower with. So we're asking everybody and making it mandatory that you cut back on your water consumption.
And a lot of the new businesses have their own wells, don't they, a lot of the
Some of them do. The DEC is starting getting critical of that now because they want us to manage our water resources, and they feel like if I control it, I can manage it better. But after I spoke last time, I was looking at some public comments, and I was thinking, how can I communicate this better? I want to make it clear that this year, I don't want the town thinking that it's all the commercial users down in Main Street. It appears this year that it's just your average everyday homeowner with an irrigation system, because where we're seeing the demand develop is not in the downtown area. So we're moving a lot of water from the downtown area up north to try and feed those areas that appear to be using much more water than in the past.
people with their lawns, but even with the wells, I mean, they're still drawing from the aquifer, which is a
They
concern
are.
as well.
It is, but Riverhead is quite large, 44 square miles, so there are two components to this type of water supply, is us getting it out of the ground, and then moving it to where we need it. So the larger your system is, we have a fairly large one, that becomes more complex. So we have some ability to move water from one area to the next, but the diameter and the size of the pipes we have limits that to some degree. So it's a really interesting business to kind of manage. It always changes.
I know, you're even getting me excited about water, Frank.
I'm glad, this is a precious resource. And
Frank, and how about, rain sensors?
I think that's important for us to push because, like Councilwoman Giglio said, it's not uncommon to drive around and see people using water during when it's raining. And we want to make sure the residents are aware that, say you live in the sewer district, you're getting charged for that water. The water rates around the island and around the country are going up, so you should be cognizant of the water you use, and if it's unnecessary to use it, and I would argue that irrigating in the rain is unnecessary, that
Absolutely.
that's no good for anybody, including the ratepayers. So we don't believe this is going to affect your quality of life or your ability to garden or grow a lawn in any way. It's just sort of reining in
I think it grows
just
mold.
useless usage
Fungus,
that's
yeah.
really hurting us. So
And I'd be curious, Jody, I did look at the legislation a few days ago, but I'd be curious what changes Stan made, just.
Yeah, they're in your packet, so
I
you
didn't know
can
if you
see.
could go over them a little bit?
Yeah, sure. So one of the things that we discussed, and Emery, do you wanna come up and we'll go over it? Some of the things that were discussed with,
I have a highlighted version, I think the councilwoman, sorry, you do too.
I did send around the revised legislation, and I think that it's up on the website also, which has the underlines, which are additions, and it has the strikes with things that we're taking out, so it's pretty.
I know, I was just curious, cause Stan does have a lot of expertise in water along with Frank, so I was just curious what changes he made.
Okay, so one of them was, in his email, was that on A2, in the second A2, where it says, the installation of irrigation systems, be at the time of issuance of the building permit or at any other time. We felt that was too much liability, that on Stan's comment, to ask people to tell them that if they put the water sprinkling systems inside the right-of-way, that we were giving them permission to do so. So the legislation basically says that all irrigation has to be outside of the town right-of-way, so that if we wanted to expand the road or widen the road, that we wouldn't have to be responsible for any removal of irrigation equipment.
That makes sense.
He-
Also, I had made quite the faux pas. I named it the Town of Riverhead Sole Source Aquifer, wherein it's not our aquifer. It's a EPA designated aquifer, so he made that correction.
Right.
Definitely warranted.
And then, you know, there were things about discouraging a property owner from wanting to improve a site aesthetically and, you know, making it discretion of the governing board. Some things that he recommended, we decided to leave as is, but I will certainly give you a copy of it. These are all my notes from what Stan had sent as far as an email, and I will send it around to everybody.
Thank you, Jody.
Some things we made changes to, some things it was just cleaning up the language, such as the, you know, the
Sole source
aquifer.
aquifer.
Exactly, rather than the town of Riverhead aquifer and things like that.
And one of the comments Stan had was, he felt or recommended that the 15% should be increased.
Right.
But upon review with the councilwoman, all members of planning staff and building staff, we agreed that, you know, this is quote, new legislation. And that we felt,
15% was adequate enough to start with for now. 15% of the area would be you know, either with mulch that would hold the water, and it would be on the lowering water cycles and the lower watering valves, we should say. And that 15% was 15% of the overall lot area was a good place to start.
So you're saying you might at some point reassess and change that number?
Well,
You're starting off with that.
I probably won't be here, but you all can consider that.
We'll call you on it, we'll ask you to come in, okay, Jody?
Yes.
And those were Stan's suggestions. and
Yes,
Okay.
you have all Stan's recommendations, and I will also email that around to the board. He made we're very lucky to have him as our planning board chairman. He's very knowledgeable on water, and he's really been very cognizant in looking at subdivisions, as the whole planning board has, at subdivisions and site plans, and making sure that these controls are in place for large-scale developments. But now we're starting to look at the residential and the zero-escape platform, and like I said, trailblazing legislation that will probably be something that other towns around us start looking at, especially towns that are on an island.
And yeah, I'm happy to have Frank on board, and I think it's really great, it is really great that we have Stan Carey, working with us in the town, because he brings a great expertise to us.
Yes, he does.
Yes, and both of you, thank you for your efforts,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you.
Frank, there's
Okay.
also been some work done with the, with grass seed, with being more tolerant or
Yeah.
drought tolerant
there are
grasses that
definitely
are available.
New varieties that are coming out.
Yeah.
and
Right.
They will get certification by some of these agencies that regulate them, and will certify them as drought resistant, drought tolerant, and the science is always getting better every
Right.
year. And as it gets better, we start to grow these better varieties and strains, so.
And a shout out to our grass expert over there.
Okay. Thank you, Frank, Anne Marie. All right, Tim,
Yes,
you're finally up, okay.
okay.
All right, code revision, car storage in industrial A zoning.
Yeah, a year or so ago, we had discussed this, and we were gonna put it up for, public hearing. And it got kind of mixed together between industrial A and industrial C, and both should be considered, both shouldn't be considered. I think what we've done is in conversations I've had with the car dealers around town, it looks like industrial A is gonna be the only area that we would look to ask to have car storage. And for the people that aren't familiar, this is a situation that car dealerships go through with their manufacturers. They're asked to have more cars on site than they normally would have years ago. and most car dealers don't have enough property within their dealership to store the cars, so they look for another area or another avenue to store these vehicles while they're waiting to be sold. And as we've known over the years, we've seen parking lots kind of pop up on Route 58 and the Cauliflower Association, the racetrack, different areas that really weren't allowed to have it, but just because of the need, they had to do it. So we're looking to kind of fix this so the dealers do have a place to store their excess vehicles and do it in a way that it's not going to be obtrusive or ugly, you know, looking. We want to do it right, so the area that it goes in Industrial A will be done properly with the boundaries and the berms and everything else. So we'd like to kind of have a discussion about Industrial A. If everybody's in favor of that, we can go back to have the public hearing on allowing car storage as a use in Industrial A. So that's really what this is about.
So, by the way, thank you for talking to me about this ahead of time, Tim.
Mhm.
So this was, I actually put this up last year from code revision. I wanted it in Industrial A, but the board wanted it in A and C, and it got voted down. But I'm glad that we're coming back to Industrial A. I mean, as you said, I don't wanna see a sea of cars in Riverhead. On one hand, we do wanna work with our car dealers, they're good neighbors to us. But, I mean, if you think about all the dealerships up west, I didn't wanna see dealerships up west even trying to store their cars out here. And, you know, and as far as car storage is concerned, we do wanna help them, but at the same time, that's a usage that doesn't bring jobs or, you know, isn't really helpful in that way to use our industrial areas.
I addressed, Catherine, I addressed that with the dealers, and because there was concern if a dealership, sometimes they have a place in Riverhead, but they may own another dealer out of town, we really don't want to bring their out-of-town cars here.
Right.
There's only one dealership in town that has another dealership out of town, and they have no interest in car storage here, so, and that's something we could always put into it, that it would be only for the dealers within the township of Riverhead for car storage.
And the problem with Industrial C is that it's just that zone is too far west from where their core
Correct.
is that right?
Correct,
Yeah,
yes,
okay.
yeah.
Right.
Because Industrial C basically is everything west of Edwards
yeah.
Avenue.
Yeah, okay.
And with all the car dealerships basically being on Route 58, it's kind of a car dealership corridor. They would want to be closer, have closer access to the cars that are stored.
Right, so I'm glad to come back to the legislation that's Industrial A only, and we did work on a lot of like setbacks and buffers and
Mhm.
things as well, because you don't wanna drive along and just see cars everywhere. So,
And Tim, have
I'm
you
in favor
addressed
of doing A only and not C.
Okay, have you addressed capacity? I mean, are you gonna fit a ton of cars in?
Well, it's like the Riverhead Ford and Lincoln Mercury and GMC is owned by
Right,
a
same.
conglomeration, basically the same people. And they added that area in the back, that the property that they own, so they took care of their problem. Riverhead Dodge is gonna be building a new dealership up on Route 58,
Right.
and so they'll have that, but they're also gonna maintain their West Main Street property, so they'll still have both places to use. So we are figuring out some other ways to do this for some of the dealerships, but also some of them just can't go beyond what they have, and they
Right.
need space. So we're not looking, I don't think we're gonna see a ton of these things pop up, but I think we're gonna see enough to pop up to accommodate what we have
The
for the
overflow.
dealers, for the overflow, yes.
Okay,
Well,
perfect.
we did talk about it again this week at code, if any of them wanna jump in, but, yeah, we did talk a little bit about, do we even wanna limit A? You know,
Mhm.
Do we wanna put some kind of limit that, at some point, you know, you can't have more cars? So, I don't know, that was just something that we came up, and that one section where they put in such a big area for, cars, it's not even full. Right, the one off of,
Pulaski Street?
Pulaski Street.
Well, they're also gonna entertain another dealership in town and
Oh,
help
so
them
that's
out.
why they have
Yes,
such a big
so
space?
there is still more room there for them to do that. But there are other dealerships that just are landlocked and don't have the property that they can do, so
Thank you,
I
Greg.
think we need to address that.
We talked about it Monday.
Good.
Yeah, just to recap some of the things we went over, we did review the legislation, and just some of the things for the board to consider when they go to adopt this. It would be considered a type 1 action pursuant to SECRA because it involves enacting zoning over more than 25 acres. And just one of the things, I would almost kind of compare it to solar commercial solar facilities. When commercial solar facilities came in, it was okay, they were on the smaller scale, and the board was okay with it, and they kind of morphed into these much, much larger projects. That was the one thing that I would maybe implore the board to consider. You know, it's okay, is 5 acres of car storage an acceptable number? Is 10 acres, you know, like, where is that line? Because, you know, as some of the council members have said, the purpose and the real intent of the industrial zoning districts is for job creation, you know, that sort of thing, to create tax ratables for the town. I don't know what kind of implications financially there would be for the tax rolls, you know, if they were to just pave over a, you know, 20-acre piece of property for car storage. So again, just some things for the board to consider, because it would be a type 1, it would require mandatory coordinated review, and we'd have to take a look at it just to understand what the, you know, the full potential build out of this could be, because we don't want it to get away from us, as like we said, we've seen with some other types of uses.
Well, it's important to know too, for the public to know, that we're not looking, that these aren't gonna be junkyards, they're not gonna be car repair places. This is for brand-new factory fresh vehicles that just have a place to stay until they're sold.
Correct,
Because
and
the
that
dealerships
is
don't
in
have-
the proposed legislation. It does
Right.
say no storage of
No
junk
repair
vehicles,
work,
you know.
nothing.
We don't want to be
It's
worried
just
about
a
oils
parking
and
lot for
chemicals
brand-new
leaking in,
cars.
so absolutely.
And we also didn't wanna see structures coming up with it, that was something else we discussed.
Which is something that I wanna discuss, if I could get a.
That is something, and I mean, again, businesses do, you know, they would need, you know, an attendant for the facility, they might, you know, they're gonna need to retain their paperwork.
And that was my concern last year, was that they should be allowed to at least have a small building up front in order to check car carriers that are coming in with new vehicles, instead of the car carrier having to go to the dealership and say, I'm here, and then turn around and go back to, which is going to have wear and tear on our roadways. And also, with a building, we're getting tax ratables. So we're not getting tax ratables for cars parked in industrial A, we're not getting jobs, but at least if we allow a building or a structure, we'll be able to assess the property based on the evaluation for the cars and the building that's on site. So that's why I thought it was important that we allow a building or a structure, and I think that some of the dealerships agreed with me, so that the car carriers can come in, check in, say, hey, I'm here with the 50 cars from Ford in Westchester, or from Chevy, you know, wherever, and instead of going back and forth on Route 58 and saying, I'm here.
And you even brought up a point that since we might have these broad areas of cars, like at the county center, they actually do solar, might be something to even toss around.
That was, I mean, something to think about, you know, if we're gonna, you know, be permitting this use in an industrial zoning district, you know, we wanna try to start thinking about, like, on a larger scale. You know, renewable energies are, you know, at the forefront. Stormwater retention, you know, like, would it be possible to incorporate rain gardens into these, you know, paved areas, instead of just having a lot that really just stores cars? Can there be some green infrastructure that's built in to help better recharge the aquifer, to retain stormwater? So I mean, really, you know, instead of just saying, let's pave the parking lot, let's really try to think about this from a global point of view and try to get the best use of the property that we can.
Very
Yeah,
interesting, Greg.
And I think that solar in a project like this would be problematic, because it will eventually be industrial A. I mean, if I owned a piece of property that was industrial A, that had the infrastructure ready to put a building up, I had sewer, I had water, I had utilities in the roadway that I could bring in like Tractor Supply, that it would just be a matter of time before I would say, okay, now somebody wants to come in and do manufacturing and they want to create jobs, that it would be very burdensome to take down all the solar panels and everything that would be like what the county center has in order to accommodate an industrial development, which is very limited in our town. Industrial A is very limited, and the reason why it was very limited in the 2003 comprehensive plan and the zoning that was adopted is because they didn't want to see a lot of industrial and subdivisions and rural neighborhoods. So that's why the industrial A is mostly on Route 25 through that corridor, and I'd hate to see all of that land used for car storage without any buildings and no jobs.
Well, Greg brought up the whole renewable energy idea.
That was just something we were kind of
Something to
just
look
trying to
into,
incorporate some
and
ideas
I thought that Greg brought up some great ideas. And Tim, what do you think about possibly looking at it to think about long-term effects, like Greg brought up, maybe?
Long-term.
Just so that we don't overburden it, you were talking about.
Well, I didn't, and not long-term effects, just really the scope of what it could be. Again, you know, like
Right.
That's what I meant.
the acreage, you know, would the town be okay if, and again, you know, 50 acres of car storage, just something to think about, maybe the board considering, you know, a limit on that usage. How, you know, dedicate a percentage or a certain amount of acreage that could be converted. There is language in there that says there should be no trees cut down to create these, so that, that does kind of preserve some of the environmental aspects of it. Again, I'm not trying to railroad it. These are just, I'm just kind of brainstorming with the board. We're proposing new legislation,
Okay.
some things to think about. But I think looking at, stormwater
Just lastly,
retention.
I wanted to say that this is, essentially our town being flexible to these business owners who are struggling with an issue. So if we're worried about bringing in other ratables, we should also be worried about not being able to satisfy the businesses that we have here, and that something critical could happen to them if we don't be flexible with our zoning. So I think this is a good step forward.
Absolutely.
And this is by special permit only, correct?
I believe, I don't have the legislation, I believe it is by special permit.
Bob's saying yes, because it
Yeah.
does say special permit uses.
Correct.
So in that way, we can make sure that it's our local dealerships that have the need for this, and not dealerships up west that wanna come here and just use our property for storage.
Correct,
Well,
which,
certainly, to your point, the car dealerships have been good neighbors to us, but we were just tossing it around. Greg had some great ideas, and, just make sure we get it right, that's
yeah,
all.
again, I'm not against the legislation, just kind of
We're not
for the
against the
board to
legislation,
think
we
about
put
in
it up
terms of.
last year.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Greg.
great.
So, would everybody consider just striking the, no buildings or structures, and saying that a building, limiting the size of it for, necessarily for having car carriers be able to check in as to where they're coming from? I mean, because they did say that they would like a structure if they could have one, and I'm sure they're not gonna build a big structure if they're only leasing the property and it's temporary.
So do you want these guys to look at it in the next day or two, because I know you wanna move on it? Want Greg and them to take a look at it again
I
and
think we
shoot
can take a
something to you?
consensus.
I think we
mean,
can,
Yeah.
I agree, Jody.
Strike, no buildings and structures and limit it to maybe 1,000 square feet.
Sure, yes.
That sounds
Yeah,
fair.
that sounds fair.
You agree?
That sounds very
Yes.
fair.
Okay, 1,000 square feet, moving forward. Did you have something to add, Jody? You said you had something you wanted to add?
No, I just think that it's important, if we're gonna have this public hearing, which I think is important, our dealerships are struggling, if we're gonna have this, public hearing, I think that we should also take into consideration the, water conservation legislation to be, incorporated into this, cause there are gonna be planting buffers, and there are going to be
Landscaping?
landscaping, so I think that it's important that if we're having this the same night as that other public hearing, that we discuss them both in collaboration with one another.
Okay. We're gonna have to determine the time on that, Jody, because, it's probably gonna be at 2:00. We'll talk about it.
Yeah.
All right, we're done? All right, so before we go on to resolutions, I just have a few comments on COVID. We continue operating under our executive order. The next date of our, executive order extension is July 5th, and it will include opening the following park facilities: basketball, softball fields, baseball fields, soccer fields, hockey rink, the skate park, and the concession stands will be closed for the remainder of the summer. Tomorrow, we should enter into phase 4, which includes non-essential gatherings of 50 people or more. That's 25, more than phase 3. So, phase 3 was 25 people, now the gatherings will include 50, individuals. Phase 4 includes recreation, higher education, low risk, indoors and outdoors, arts, entertainment, media production, indoor occurrences not to exceed a maximum of 50% capacity. Phase 3, and I know there's been some confusion lately, and I just wanna clarify, phase 3 opened up the restaurants, but that also included catering and the different types of food services. Our beaches are open to residents as they have been all along. Beach and 4x4 passes will be issued to residents only, or to someone who has a valid rental lease. Day or non-residency seasonal pass, parking permits will not be issued. Town Code, 211-14, Jody, It might be something that you might wanna look at, may need to be updated, there's a couple of provisions in that we noticed when we reviewed it yesterday, that may not apply, or we might wanna enhance.
Is that the rental code? 21114, that is?
Yes.
So, because I had said that if they have a valid rental permit, then they should be able to get a seasonal beach pass.
It has to be for 30 days.
30 days
You
or
can't have
more.
a rental for 2, it's 30 days or more.
That's what our, yes,
Yeah,
that's.
okay, so we'll just have to tighten that up. I looked at it yesterday, and there's a couple of things that, if you need any information or wanna see what's going on, visit the Riverhead Town website. Right-hand side, we have, icon, it said, COVID updates, hit on that. If you need a temporary outside dining, permit, updates, when we get updates from the state, we are enhancing that, almost on a regular basis. Or you can go on to the New York Forward for COVID-19 updates. Okay? And, so, that's it, we're gonna move on to resolutions.
Yeah, but I just wanted to take a moment to thank Island Harvest, came in again. They've been very good to Riverhead, and did a food distribution for seniors this week. Jody was there, Frank was here, you came by, I was there. And, anyway, I'm very appreciative of all they do for Riverhead, and we also had, I was able to get a lot of retired Riverhead teachers to help volunteer. So it was a great event.
Yes, it was. Okay, moving forward, Devin, can you please read the resolutions for today?
Okay, sure. So number 1, authorizes town clerk to publish and post public notice to consider site plan application known as 331 East Main Street, Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-129-4-15, located in the Downtown Center DC1 zoning use district. Number 2, authorizes town clerk to publish and post public notice to consider special permit application known as 331 East Main Street, Suffolk County Tax Map number 600-129-4-15, located in the Downtown Center DC1 zoning use district. Number 3, ratifies the appointment of a maintenance mechanic 4 to the Street Lighting Division of the Town Engineers Department. Number 4, approve special event application of Muddy Princess 5K obstacle race June 13, 2021, and approves amendment fee waiver request. Number 5, authorizes the supervisor to execute professional service agreements with Goodman Marks Associates. Number 6, authorizes the supervisor to execute a license agreement nunc-pro-tunc with Hampton Oyster Company, LLC, to allow the installation of floating upweller system Flupsy in East Creek. Number 7, authorizes an agreement with Granicus for legislative management software license solution. Number 8, resolution authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice of public hearing for Community Development Agency purchase of property located at 117 East Main Street, Riverhead, New York, Suffolk County Tax Map 600-129-1-12, 121 East Main Street, Section Suffolk County Tax Map 600-129-1-13, and 127 East Main Street, Riverhead, Suffolk County Tax Map 600-129-1-14. Number 9, accepts the resignation of Spanish-speaking clerk. Number 10, approves Chevalier Enterprises Limited Plumbing and Heating as drain layer for Riverhead Sewer District. Number 11, Police Department budget adjustment. Number 12, extends bid nunc-pro-tunc for disposal and recycling of municipal solid waste. Number 13, extends bid for fire.
I just wanna touch on this. Oh, this is municipal solid waste. Okay.
Okay. Number 13, extends bid for fire.
I'm sorry.
Nope, it's okay. Number 13, extends bid for fire and security alarm contract. Number 14, ambulance district fund balance transfer. Number 15, resolution amending resolution number 242 adopted on June 2, 2020, and setting terms and conditions of employment for Assistant Town Engineer Kenneth Testa.
There's a typo in assistant in the headline.
Yep. Okay. Number 16, Highway Metal Storage Building Capital Project number 45126 closure. Number 17, resolution authorizing nunc-pro-tunc legal action against the owner of premises located at 510 Toomey Avenue, Riverhead, New York. Number 18, approve special event application for Chapter 255 for Riverhead Foundation for Marine Research Paddle Battle. Number 19, authorizes town clerk to publish and post notice to bidders for bids for Town of Riverhead and Calverton Sewer District's generator preventative maintenance and service. Number 20, extends bid for disposal of town-generated construction and demolition material. Number 21, awards bid for 2020 annual construction contract. Number 22, amendment fee waiver request of special event for North Fork Event Company, North Meets South. Number 23, awards bid for 2020 annual procurement contract. Number 24, extends bid for annual diesel generator maintenance for the Riverhead Water District. Number 25, appoints a seasonal registered nurse to the Recreation Department. Number 26, ratifies the appointment of a seasonal registered nurse to the Recreation Department. Number 27, ratifies the appointment of seasonal summer recreation staff to the Recreation Department. Number 28, appoints a Climate Smart Community Coordinator to the Town of Riverhead Climate Smart Community Task Force. Number 29, authorizes the creation of Town of Riverhead Climate Smart Community Task Force. Number 30, appoints an internal green team to the Town of Riverhead Climate Smart Community Task Force.
Devin, I'm just gonna jump in here, just to let you guys know, these are, remember last year we voted on moving forward with the climate smart, communities?
Mhm.
These are steps that are moving us along. We had to have someone from the town that is the coordinator, that's going to be Jason Blizzard. We were supposed to have a green team of, I think it's 4 people within the town that work on things. And we have that's one of these resolutions, and the other resolution is, you're supposed to have a task force. We made the Downtown Environmental Committee the task force. So that's what, these are just resolutions that are moving us along in those efforts.
Okay. Number 31, appoint seasonal personnel to the Recreation Department. Number 32, ratify the salary schedule for 2020 summer personnel for Riverhead. I think it meant for the Riverhead Recreation Department. Number 33, 2020 Pave New York Road Resurfacing Grant. 34, 2020 EWR Road Resurfacing Grant. Number 35, 2020 CHIPS Road Resurfacing Grant Budget Adoption. Number 36, adopts rate structure table for Riverhead Water District. Number 37, authorizes town clerk to publish and post public notice to consider a local law to amend Chapter 301 of the Riverhead Town Code entitled Zoning and Land Development.
Is that the seaplanes?
No, that's the water conservation.
Oh, okay. Oh, sorry, Jody.
Number 38, adopts the provision of Chapter 92 of the laws of 2020 and extends the filing deadline for any application or renewal application for any real property tax abatement program or real property tax exemption program. Number 39, authorize the supervisor to execute sub-license agreement between the County of Suffolk and the Town of Riverhead and Nelson Pope and Voorhees. Number 40, Railroad Avenue Urban Renewal Strategic Plan Project 72002, revised budget adoption. Number 41, amends Resolution 273-2020, Downtown Revitalization Round 18 funding. And number 42, authorizes the supervisor to execute Urban County Co-op Agreement for CDBG Consortium.
And one that didn't make it, unfortunately, but if we could get Anne Marie here, I'm sure she has the verbiage. We've been working on, the Farmland Committee actually made a recommendation that we'd like to send to County Executive Ballone and to the Suffolk County Legislature regarding the purchase of development rights on the Wells Farm on Phillips Lane. There's a 15.6 acre farm there, partially preserved through TDRs. There's 11.2 or 4, and we'll get this into the
Miniature.
minute
Yeah,
track,
we can take a vote if we want to move forward
Yeah.
now.
Yeah,
Absolutely,
so-
yes.
So there's a letter to the county executive and to Suffolk County Planning Department from Rodney Anderson, who's the chairman of the Farmland Preservation Committee. So the resolution in the packet is just to authorize the Farmland Committee to send this to the county exec, changing the order of prioritization for preservation of farmland to make this the #1 parcel.
What was the #1 parcel?
You can, Emery has the whole list of,
Okay.
of which parcels are on this town's recommendation to the county for preservation. But this
Okay.
is the one that's
Yeah.
pressing
So
the
let's
most.
just take a vote?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Al
and I-
Krupski had worked with us on making sure this gets to the head of the table. It has to do with the family farm that's been in their family for 12 generations, and now the kids are coming back from their other jobs and cities and are descending on the farm, and this would be a really a helpful thing for them to have it preserved, and then, of course, the funds that come with it so that they can continue the legacy of their family farm.
Yeah, it's great to have Jessica and Matt
Mhm.
both working. In fact, Matt Wells is on the Ag Advisory now, so
Yeah.
it's great.
Okay.
And we do have a CDA resolution that we will be adopting also for the public hearing for the, Main Street, 117 East Main Street, 121 East Main Street, and 127 East Main Street. So that is in the packet also for a CDA, resolution for July 7th.
Yep. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Devin, that was a mouthful, for sure. All right, we have no items for executive session today, but before I ask for a motion to close the work session, I want to quickly wish everyone a safe and healthy upcoming 4th of July weekend. And I think I can speak for my fellow council members in saying that if this pandemic has taught us anything, it is to value our family and our wonderful neighbors, our veterans, and our healthcare workers, our essential workers, the press. So everyone, whether you're venturing out or you're staying home for a barbecue, have a wonderful, socially distant 4th of July celebration. Now, can I have a motion to close the work session? Can I get a first and second?
God bless America.
Yes.
Second.
Okay, all in favor? All
Aye.
opposed? So moved. Thank you.
Thank you.